Hey guys, this is Jonathan from BurgeMR, and I watched today Hard Candy. I haven't seen this movie in a while. I actually probably haven't seen this since it came out, because I saw it pretty much as soon as it was released on home video. I mean, I didn't go to the theater to see it, but I rented it when it actually came out, and home video, which probably would have been like beginning of 2006, something like that. So I haven't seen this for about 11 years. But I picked it up the other day. I remember really liking it, and I watched it again tonight, and I still really like it. It's such a fantastic movie, especially for what they were able to do. Because this was actually shot on a pretty minimal budget. It was shot for under $1 million. And I read that the studio actually did that that they actually shot this movie for under $1 million on purpose to keep the studio from interfering with the cut, because they could label it as an indie film, and there is not as much studio involvement, which is great, even though there really isn't anything that they would need to cut out of this, because just the way it's done is so good, and I'm going to talk about that. But one of the things I want to talk about first off is I love these type of movies. These are movies that are built on not necessarily suspense, but tension. These movies that the whole point of them is to make you slightly uncomfortable up until the moment of payoff. And payoff is whenever something happens, or you find out the information you've been waiting on getting, or the guy dies or something, whatever the payoff is. I love these type movies, and some of them are done, and there's a lot of different ways to do them. Sometimes the payoff is in the middle of a movie, but the movie can still be super good. Sometimes the payoff is closer to the end. Occasionally the payoff is in the beginning of a movie. A weird example of that would be, although this isn't really as much a tension movie, but it's the idea of it, would be Cabin in the Woods. You know from the beginning that it's fake, and it actually adds to it. If they had put that in at the end, I don't think that movie would have worked as well. However, this movie is a different beast in that sense, because while the payoff is at the end of the movie, it's tense moments that throughout the movie, once the story really gets started, basically once they get over to the guy's house, the payoffs and the tension is built up to these moments that you think may be a payoff, but it's not. And then they build again to another moment, and it's still not. And they do that, and they do that, and they do that up until the end of the movie. There are all these moments where you think, oh, this is going to be it. And then you finally get to that end scene on the rooftop, which is one of the most brilliant pieces of filmmaking. I love it. It's so well done. The moment is filled with such tension, anxiety, and stress that you can't help but literally get up on the edge of your seat. And it builds towards that, and it's a move that really worked for this movie, just because of what the subject matter was, how tense it was, and the fact that there's 5 people in the cast for this movie. 5. And one of those people literally had no lines. One of them had like maybe one line. The other one was, in Sandra Oh, was like maybe 3 minutes. This movie hinges on incredible performances from Patrick Wilson and Ellen Page. And this was my first introduction to Ellen Page. And I love Ellen Page now. I mean, she's one of my favorite younger actresses. I think that she's really good, and I think that she's making an interesting career choice in the fact that she's mainly sticking with lower budget movies, with the exception of the X-Men movies. but you know, she was fantastic in Juno. She's in a movie called Whip It, which if you've never seen that, it is such a good movie. I highly recommend it to everybody. Um, and this is the first thing I ever saw her, and it's also, I think, probably the first thing I ever saw Patrick Wilson in, at least that I can remember. And Patrick Wilson is also very good. But it hinges on these incredible performances from both these people, you know? And they were both still kind of unknown at this time. They're both stars now, but at the time they were kind of unknown. And everything about this is, in a lot of ways, an indie movie. Even the director, who is a huge name now, David Slade, at the time he wasn't really known. He had directed music videos. This is his first feature-length presentation, and what a way to start your career. I mean, seriously, what a way to start your career. But Patrick Wilson does such a good job of playing his character and leaving you in the dark and guessing about what really was going on. You know, until the end of the movie, you don't know. You have no real confirmation throughout the entire movie of anything, really. You know, it leaves you guessing, and it leaves you guessing on purpose, because the idea of this movie is that you don't know who's in the right here. You don't know who the real villain is, I guess you could say. And you don't know that until the last 3 minutes of the movie, maybe. I mean, literally the very end, you don't know. And that's what makes it so great. Ellen Page does an incredible job of portraying this girl that says she's 14, but again, we don't know, because that was kind of the whole point of her character, is that we don't know who she is. She is a mystery, you know. And at the end of the movie, you still don't know. And I don't want to spoil the ending for you. That's why I just keep saying the end, because I'm not gonna spoil that. But you don't know who she is. You don't even know if Haley is her real name. You don't know how old she is. You don't know anything about her. It's like everything she says throughout the entire movie, by the end of it, you're like, the entire movie was a lie, basically. Everything that came out of her mouth was a lie, except for the last 5 minutes. It's the moment of honesty in the movie between both the characters. Up until that point, they were both lying to each other for the entire movie to try to get what they wanted. And it's a really interesting look into the human psyche, into what, because Patrick Wilson's character is lying to try to survive, and Ellen Page's character is lying in order to get what she wants. It's kind of an interesting idea of the id versus superego going on in this movie, between those two. And this is a tense movie. It is a super, super intense movie. It's kind of messed up. It's a tough movie to watch in a lot of ways because of the subject matter. And it's no spoil to say the subject matter is about pedophilia, mainly. And one of the things that I'd forgotten about this movie, actually, was the beginning, which I think is so beautifully done, in that it's just a chat room setting up the meeting between the two characters. It was very simplistic. It was really a cool way to do it. It was kind of a really, really cool throwback to early 2000s chat rooms, you know. And there are some things in this movie that are dated, but the story, the characters, the way that it's set up, kind of makes it a timeless piece. I mean, 20, 30 years from now, people are going to look back on this movie as feeling somewhat dated, but not super. Only dated in the terms of like the technology that was in it. All the rest of it, wow, really strong. Really strong in the sense that it deals just its dialogue. I mean, there's some action in it, but so much of the story rests in the dialogue between these two characters. The conversations that they're having, the interrogation that they're having, I guess I should say, because that's what this really is. It is an interrogation, and a harsh one at that. And that's where the real masterpiece of this movie is, I guess, the masterfulness of it is these two characters are just having this strong conversation and incredible performance coming out of both of these actors. It is a highly recommended movie for me, but be prepared for what you're going to see, because it gets kind of rough to watch at times, but it's worth it, and it's worth it for the end with the payoff. It kind of leaves you speechless. Thanks for watching, though. I know this one was a little bit shorter than I usually do, but I think I said all I needed to say about this movie. So, thanks for watching, guys. Bye.